Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard, and thank you for watching today's Corn Belt Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Let's check in with the jet stream on this Friday morning. We've got a ridge across the western U.S. with a trough digging in across parts of the Great Lakes and the Northeast region. Of course, here is Dorian, and this trough going to help steer Dorian off to the north and to the east and away from the United States finally as we head into the weekend. We'll also then be watching this ridge to kind of shift off to the east, bringing some warmth into the middle part of the country. You see that here when we look at the temperature forecast over the next 10 days. Our first 5 days are on the left, keeping cooler conditions across the northern portions of the Corn Belt here from the Dakotas into parts of the Great Lakes into the eastern Corn Belt. But as we head into the 5 days that follow that, September 12th through the 16th, this is when we'll start to watch for some of that warmth to kind of shift back into the middle of the country. Parts of the Midwest here, parts of the eastern Corn Belt haven't seen unseasonable warmth here for several weeks. It's been a pattern here of reinforcing shots of cooler and drier air across the region, so turning warmer and muggier as we head into mid to late next week across the middle part of the country. The next 2 weeks of precipitation will focus on the week 1 time frame here in this forecast video, and we are going to watch for things to turn active again across parts of the Dakotas into portions of the central Corn Belt, but especially there, that corridor from the Dakotas into Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, going to be holding the biggest potential for more frequent rain events as we head through the next 7 days. The last 48 hours of precipitation have been rather quiet across the middle part of the country. Some showers moving across parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Over the last 24 hours, we saw some scattered showers and storms in the Northeast. On Wednesday, some of those were severe. And then, of course, here's Dorian and the heavy rain moving along parts of the southeastern coast. But across the middle part of the country, it's been rather quiet over the last couple of days. To look at the last 2 days of severe weather reports, again, here are some of the severe weather reports from Wednesday. Mostly wind damage, but a couple of tornadoes reported across Connecticut on Wednesday afternoon, and then yesterday on Thursday, seeing a cluster of tornadoes with a kind of a local tornado outbreak there with some of Dorian's outer bands moving into eastern North Carolina. Now, this was taken in Connecticut on Wednesday, this gorgeous supercell. You see the carved out rounded base there by the rotating, the strong low-level winds there, and then the tilted updraft of that thunderstorm. Again, these are the supercell storms, the type of storms that produce most of the severe weather that we see across the United States each and every year, and the most of our tornado reports as well. So again, I'll take the drawings off of here. This was taken by Roger Charbonneau. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, rogerpics.smugmug.com if you want to check out more of that, but just a fantastic shot I wanted to share. Now, look at the satellite picture here on Friday morning. Of course, Dorian steals the show as far as the eye candy goes, making its way along the east coast. The little disturbance right now making its way through the Great Lakes, bringing some light rain shower activity parts of Wisconsin and Michigan. But really, as we look across the Corn Belt, a gorgeous start to the day, waking up to mostly sunny skies for just about everyone on this Friday morning. Look under those clouds. Here's the light rain shower activity making its way through the Great Lakes. Here is Dorian continuing on its journey, and again, a quiet start to the day for the majority of us here across the Corn Belt. Here's the frontal picture. Look at the surface map on Friday morning. This is the quick moving disturbance right now that's kind of sneaking through the Corn Belt. It's a dry passage here for us down along the frontal boundary. We just don't have the moisture on the backside of this cold front that kind of took the moisture with it. So a dry frontal passage here, just going to bring in a reinforcing shot of some milder and drier air. Feeling like a broken record here for us in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, part of this region. It's just been, every 3 or 4 days getting one of these fronts passing through. And so as it stands, this front doesn't have the moisture to work with in terms of producing any kind of significant precipitation. But some light showers sneaking through the region off to the north across the Great Lakes. We are going to watch for this front to stall out as we get into Saturday night and Sunday. This is that frontal boundary kind of stalling out. We'll watch for another disturbance then to develop across parts of the high plains and track eastward. That's going to bring some more significant rain chances to parts of the Corn Belt, especially northern and central portions here from the Dakotas into Iowa, but still seeing some of that rain probably sneaking into portions of the eastern Corn Belt at the very least later on in the weekend. The next 3 days of severe weather chances here, severe weather forecast from the Storm Prediction Center, keeping it pretty quiet across the Corn Belt region. Here would be Friday. This is looking at today, maybe an isolated strong storm across the high plains. As we head into Saturday, this is as that next storm system emerges here along the stalled out frontal boundary across this region. We'll maybe have a marginal risk for a strong storm or two across primarily Nebraska on Saturday. And then Sunday, things not moving a whole lot. looking at a low risk for a strong storm across parts of Colorado and western portions of Nebraska and Kansas. The latest on Dorian, taking it out and away from the U.S. We've got hurricane watches across parts of Newfoundland as this thing moves through on Saturday, but not providing much in the way of significant coastal impacts to the Northeast region. I covered that in the Northeast regional forecast. Local areas perhaps seeing some heavy rain, and then wind gusts anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour, certainly possible in coastal areas. If you want more on that, check out the Northeast regional forecast. Looking at the next 2.5 days of precipitation from the high-resolution NAM model, we'll watch Dorian make its way out. We'll watch this system kind of make its way out as well, and then we're going to watch for precipitation developing across the northern plains as we get into the back half of the weekend, watching for this frontal boundary to kind of stall across the region and our next disturbance developing over here. So I'll take the drawings off. We'll just go ahead and play this thing out. Go ahead and step through time, though, as I like to do, taking about Friday morning, going through the day on Friday. Really a beautiful day for just about everyone across the Corn Belt. Maybe some light showers across this region. I think, again, it's going to be mostly a dry frontal passage across the eastern Corn Belt. Not seeing much in the way of significant rain. Dorian makes its way out. As we get into the late part of the night, maybe some light rain across western portions of the Dakotas here. Really looking more at later on in the day on Saturday. It's getting into midday Saturday. Seeing some of this rain taking shape across the Dakotas. Getting into Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening now, maybe seeing some of this rain spreading into parts of Nebraska and Iowa at this time. And then across parts of Illinois, perhaps seeing some of this rain as we get into Sunday morning. Now seeing some of this making its way into portions of the eastern Corn Belt on Sunday. So starting in the northwest on Saturday morning, slowly making its way off to the south and to the east through time over the weekend, finally making its way to portions of Illinois by the time we get to Sunday morning. That's the next 2.5 days of precipitation. We'll see it here in the accumulated precipitation forecast. We'll play it one more time, taking it back to Friday morning. Let's go ahead and pause it. Keeping it quiet for just about everyone on Friday. Maybe some light rain across this corridor here Friday afternoon. Starting Saturday morning, early morning hours, now starting to see some of the precipitation emerge across the western Dakotas. Taking it through midday Saturday, getting into Saturday evening. Now we've made it down to portions of Nebraska and Iowa. Getting into Sunday morning, now making its way into portions of Missouri and Illinois. So there kind of times out the precipitation for us here as we head through the weekend. The dew point map here, this is going to show that frontal boundary making its way through, bringing in a reinforcing shot of some cooler, drier air. But I show this loop so I want you to see the front kind of stall in this region, and then we start pumping moisture back in on the back side here, and that again sets the stage for the rain across the Corn Belt in a more active pattern as we head not just through this weekend but into next week. So we'll play this out there. You see the front come through. Now we see it stall Saturday, and now we're pumping that moisture back in on the backside as we head into the weekend and early next week. Now the jet stream, as we talk about the next week or so, we'll bring it back. Again, we got the ridge off to the west, the trough in the east, taking it through the early part of the weekend, and then early next week, Monday, Tuesday, now we got a trough digging in the west, and that's when we're starting to build this ridge across the middle part of the country, allowing some of that warmth to return to the Corn Belt as we head into early to mid next week. Now this holds on for a couple of days, so maybe several days of warmer weather across the Corn Belt here before our next trough, our next storm system makes its way in late next week into the weekend. Keeping things active again, stormy across northern portions of the Corn Belt, keeping warmth in the middle part of the country, but then this next storm system that could disrupt things and continue this active pattern. Really, we're going to focus again on just the next 5 to 7 days in this video, but I know Eric is going to have plenty to talk about by the time we get to Monday morning as we shift into a rather progressive and a rather active pattern across the middle part of the country. Could lead to a roller coaster here with temperatures, with periods of warmth, periods of cooler weather, and then active patterns here, active phases where we get some corridors of some more heavy rain over the next 2 to 3 weeks. But again, details on that will be more ironed out on Monday morning's Ag Forecast video. Let's just take a look at the next week here in terms of precipitation from the GFS model. This will again show kind of the quick moving system here that gets us through the weekend, but the quiet start until we start watching for the beginnings of some precipitation out toward the Dakotas here on Saturday. Taking this through Sunday, you're seeing the same progression, moving from northwest to southeast through the weekend. So getting into Sunday morning now, seeing some of that rain making its way into parts of Missouri and Illinois. Taking it through Monday now, watching for another more organized storm system to develop across parts of the high plains, parts of the Dakotas early next week. This strong southerly flow on the leading edge, that's going to be bringing this warmer air, this warmer regime and warm air advection across the middle part of the country in advance of that one. This passes through here Tuesday and Wednesday, perhaps bringing chances for showers and storms to the eastern Corn Belt as we get into the middle part of next week. Playing this out a bit further, we get into Wednesday, we're developing another storm system here across the high plains. Again, strong warm air advection on the leading edge of that, keeping that warmer air in place across the middle part of the country, keeping the Gulf of Mexico wide open, pumping moisture in the middle of the country. So continuing to develop storm systems across this region and lift them off to the northeast. And that's going to keep things pretty active across this corridor, give or take, a little bit here on each side of my oval, but primarily through this corridor here. Going to be seeing, several storm systems tracking through, bringing us pretty regular chances for some rain and some thunderstorms across that region. So if we take a look here at just the accumulated precipitation, taking it through day by day, every 24 hours, looking at each day's precipitation, this will again spell it out for us once more, looking at the total precipitation Friday, going to be mostly across parts of the Intermountain West, but starting to spill into the Corn Belt here Saturday. So we see this corridor here making its way from the northern plains into the central Corn Belt. Sunday, seeing some of that rain from the central plains into parts of Illinois and Indiana. This would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And what are you seeing? You're seeing a lot of precipitation in this corridor here each day. Not a lot of dry days to be found here as we go through the next week. So here again, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So folks outside that oval certainly seeing rain opportunities. It looks like a lot of folks over the Corn Belt are going to see rain opportunities as we head through the next 7 or 8 days. But really that corridor, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, could see some repeated heavy rain as we head through the next week. Total precipitation accumulation from the GFS model, this will kind of spell it out here again. Just letting this play, getting into Friday of next week. So this is the total accumulated precipitation from the GFS model, the most recent run for the next 7 days, taking it through 10 p.m. on Friday. And you see everyone in the Corn Belt here, at least as we talk about from Illinois into Missouri, Iowa, and the north and west from there, seeing at least a chance for some decent precipitation and some corridors here, maybe seeing 1 to 2 inches of precipitation primarily in that oval that I keep drawing across parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Iowa, Nebraska. It's where I think the heaviest concentration ultimately is going to end up. So we look at the national blended model. This again takes some of our more popular, some of our better models, kind of combines it into a consensus picture here. And you can see where they're honing in on that corridor from the Dakotas into Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and parts of Nebraska. Southern portions here, I don't think the cutoff is going to be quite so sharp as the national blended model shows here. I do think we'll get some precipitation into parts of Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and parts of Indiana as well. Now finishing it up, we'll look at the temperature forecast. Here's the pattern now, warm to the west, cool to the east, and we'll see a gradual shift of that pattern as we head into next week. So let's take it back to Friday, taking it through the weekend. Again, here comes that front, bringing a reinforcing shot of some cooler and drier air to the region over the weekend. So not warming up yet as we head through the weekend, still going to keep things cool. It's as we head into, this is Sunday and Monday, so there you see it's still holding on to that cooler pattern across the Corn Belt through the weekend. But getting into next week, Monday and Tuesday, now we're starting to see the flip. We're seeing warm air advection in advance of our developing storm system. The Gulf of Mexico is wide open, so as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, probably going to be seeing some more warm and muggy summer-like weather across the Corn Belt, taking us all the way into the end of next week. And you see these storm systems, you can actually see and kind of draw in our next storm system right here at the end of next week. Warm air advection in advance of that storm, cold air advection coming in on the backside. So there it is, and you can kind of draw the cold front right there as it would stand. This model of the GFS spitting this out for 7 a.m. next Friday. Clearly not going to happen exactly like that, but this gives us some pretty good clues, and we've got some pretty good consistency with this rather active pattern with warm air in advance of each storm system, rain as the storm system tracks through, cooler air coming in on the backside. So a pretty volatile pattern across the Corn Belt as we head into the next week, with pretty big chances for temperature swings and some precipitation across a big chunk of the region. The losers in terms of precipitation probably going to be the states of Indiana and Ohio, maybe Kentucky and Tennessee, staying a little bit drier as we head through the next week. Everyone else, at least decent chances for some precipitation over the next week. finishing it out with their high temperatures for the next 5 days. As we look at this system passing through the Great Lakes, a bit cooler off to the north, warmest off to the south, anywhere from the 60s to the middle 80s. Cooler on Saturday as this front slowly makes its way south through the region. High temperatures in the mid 50s across the Dakotas and Minnesota on Saturday. As we head into Sunday, warming up slowly, but that front kind of stalling out across the region. Will be cooler across the eastern Corn Belt, highs only in the mid 70s on Sunday. Warming up though as we start to head into next week. Here's Monday. And then Tuesday, check it out, summer-like warmth returning to a big chunk of the eastern Corn Belt. If you haven't done so already, if you're watching these videos on YouTube, just catch them as they show up on your feed there. Set up an account at my.nutrienagsolutions.com. It's free and it takes about 30 seconds to set one up. You just need your email address and set up a password. It doesn't cost you anything, and once you log in, you get access to this screen here. You can click on Weather Story, and you can get all the forecasts that Eric Snodgrass and myself are putting out each and every day. We put these out Monday through Friday, and if you're just looking for them on YouTube, you're missing out. You got to set up an account here. Again, takes about 30 seconds. It's free, and it'll get you daily access to these forecasts that Eric and I are putting out. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an update on the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Monday morning Ag Forecast video, and I'll be back to talk about the Corn Belt on Tuesday morning. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend.